All right, let's jump into it. We're 10:04 on Thursday, the 15th of Jan. So officially halfway through the first month, and geez, like every day I sort of say at the moment, it has been an absolute sort of hectic sort of start to the month, and that I mean, really pick your choice about what you really want to sort of say is the driver at the moment. We've got Iran that seems to be just going absolutely shocking. Greenland, which, again, sort of seems to be sort of ticking along in the background and that. So Trump's saying they're sort of going to be taking it at any cost and that, and even if they don't get a deal, and then you got the EU sort of saying that they're going to try and oppose it or something like this. So who knows what's going on with that one over there? And then on top of this, we got sort of the Fed with sort of Trump going after the Powell, and then most recently from last night. We had supposed to have a bit of a resolution on the legality of the tariff situation, which also was supposed to come out last Friday, 2 a.m. of course, and get to 2 a.m. and nothing. That was on Friday. Supposed to come out again last night, 2 a.m. and Bubka, whatever, nothing basically. So yeah, and that's not even to mention the economic data. This is all stuff that's going on separate to sort of what's on the calendar. It's funny. I was talking to someone the other day, and I was saying that sort of like, why, do I trade oil? And I've traded everything in that, but and I've had some mixed successes with oil. But my feeling with oil, apart from the fact, is that that needs to be it, because it's so intricate as to sort of what's driving it, in my opinion, that it needs to be okay. That's what I do. I trade oil. I live oil. All that kind of sort of stuff with it all. But the other sort of major sort of deterrent for me was that you could be sort of in a position at middle of the night, and then out of nowhere, you could get sort of blown out of a position because somebody bombed somebody else. It's not on obviously not on the economic calendar, and it just has that level of unpredictability about it. Um, this is this is pretty much what the markets have turned into at the moment. Like, as I say, I'm a Trump fan, but in terms of trading, it is just, you know what I mean. You go to bed and maybe a headline comes out, maybe a headline doesn't come out, maybe a tweet comes out. Who knows? I mean, certainly we saw it with Powell the other day on DXY, and on Monday morning, and it got creamed. Anyway, look, whatever. That is just the state of play in that at the moment. All we can do is look at the charts and sort of look at sort of what's happening with it all. So obviously I'm on gold here, so I'll start off with gold. It's a bit choppy up over here as to sort of where your actual sort of top line is. Technically, we've got a little bit of a sort of resistance coming up the top over here. We did have a nice little, I sort of covered this on a shorter trade setup yesterday, was this ascending triangle. It actually played out very well, and as you can see, it sort of really came down, respected this level down here. So we can lock this level in. We know this is where the buyers are. We can lock this in. We know this is where the sellers are. To me, I think these are going to be your crucial levels, and I think that realistically, we may be actually seeing some downside to come here. Couple of things for this is one, obviously, we came down. It's a big round number, 4,600. This is where the buyers step back in. 4580 was where they held it time and time again. So these are the two main levels. You may have a little bit of a level here at 60, but these are the two ones that I'm sort of keeping an eye on. And that I think, should we breach 4,600, I expect to get a bit of a reaction here, but I don't know if 4580 is going to hold it. This is downside. And if you look at this move here, we've had sort of like quite a strong shoot up, which is fine. But really, this looks almost like it's kind of rolling over a little bit here. Like it had a lot of trouble getting through it last night, shot down on basically, actually, it was a bit prior to that supposed tariff information coming out. It didn't come out, and then appreciated a little bit later on in the sort of middle of the night, end of the session. But why I sort of think that this potentially could be setting up for a bit of a downside is because if we go back and you go on a higher time frame, we go to 4 hour, and we look at this top here that we had back in October. Look at this move here. We came down, stuffed around a little bit, out of nowhere, shoots right back up, takes out the highs, and then gets this big meltdown over here. So it didn't sort of just come up and peak and come down. It had this out of nowhere, scream back up to the highs, and then come back down. Now, this is a 4 hour, So obviously the reaction in this was a lot more drastic. But if we shoot to where we are now and we look at this on a lower time frame, you can see the similarities in that sort of price setup. Let me put them side by side just to really emphasize the point a bit more here. Which one's this? So this on the 1 hour, this is on the 4 hour. The similarities of this: sharp move down, consolidate down the bottom, consolidate down the bottom, out of nowhere, fly back up, take out the highs, and then the second subsequent move coming down takes out that swing low. So this swing low through here, 41.85, whatever, if you want to take the wick or not, take it from the wick just as a lower confirmation. But should we take out that 4600, I imagine this to be pretty much the similar kind of move to what we could potentially see here. So it doesn't mean necessarily that we've got a top of it all coming in, but I certainly think if 4600 gets taken out, again, 4580 is going to get some sort of reaction. But I think this could be potentially a little bit of a medium-term top. Again, this is a 1 hour, this is a 4 hour, so the high time frames is going to be more significant than the lower time frames in terms of reaction of how far down it comes and that. But certainly, it seems like it's butted its head against the resistance a number of times here. 4600 goes out, I'll be looking for sort of a bit of a sort of move back down. And realistically, if we want to sort of then look at where we may be going, sort of should we actually get this sort of like little medium term top rolling over here, well, most likely we could probably see a little bit of reaction from this trend line that we saw sort of actually provided that little push up there. So again, as you can see, it's not going to be massive like, oh, we're going, the game's over and we're going back to 4,000 necessarily. But should we take out these levels over here, I think we could first of all look for this touch up of this trend. So I'll put an alert on it. This is called breakout trend. So that was the trend that we were on before we got the breakout. Boom. So back up here, break through there. Then we can just look back to some horizontals. So we'll be looking back around sort of this 40, call it 4,500. I reckon that is probably a realistic level. Should we sort of take out 4,580, could see a move down to 4,500. Again, that sort of shows that it's not necessarily going to be mass breakout, breakdown, but it does give room for a pullback. Now, inversely to this, because you've got to consider both sides of the coin, a close and break above 46.40 needs. I covered this yesterday. You need a big close out the top here. You need something like this. Whoops. You need a candle like that. You need something of straight confirmation. There's a little up candle there. You need straight confirmation that there are no more sellers here, and that'll be signified by a big solid candle closing above 46.40. We've seen it butt its head all here. This is kind of like, look, it was an ascending triangle. It failed, came back up and tested it, but like realistically, this is just stalling. It was waiting for that sort of PPI data last night. It was waiting for what's it called, PPI. I was waiting for the ruling from the on the tariffs. Didn't happen. PPI came out a little bit stronger actually, so that probably added to the little downside here. But the point is, this is where the sellers are. The point here. So this, time and time again, is what you need to see depleted, and that'll be signified by a close out the top, and then, bang, you can look back up to 4,700. But the fact that it butted its head there a bunch of times, that given that setup that I showed against the 4 hour, given the fact that this last push up here, again, it's only on the 1 hour, but that's a negative divergence. Look at the sort of buying strength coming up into that second push. This is why it's come back down like this, because the buying pressure just wasn't there to match it. And now it's coming back down to here. So the emphasis at the moment is really back on this sort of 4,600. We do have a little zone through the middle here. Again, depending how low you want to go on your time frames, but that's another little zone through here. So, at the moment, obviously, you can see it undid that big sort of jerk up candle. So, we are sort of seeing it try to hold this a little bit just on the open. But we'll see how we go. I'm just having a look at silver as well. Silver's just insane. Almost sort of $94. Drops like nearly $2 on open, like it's nothing. Anyway, so that's what I'm looking for. I want to see a sort of candle. I want to see a candle closing kind of like minimum like this. There's a lot of down candles. Little down candles through like that will be an early indicator. I mean, obviously you can see this thing continue down, but the big one that'll clarify is when we get a close down underneath here. Close down underneath here, I think that's going to be okay, boom. And as I said yesterday with the trade thing, I do believe that if we get this, I could expect to see something like this. A big move candle down here, because there's a lot of people, look, it's super bullish, and you got to think, okay, and it's funny because I did this trade setup yesterday in the Europe session, and I sort of said, look, yeah, I mean, this is how it works. The reason for it, I mean, it's probably, there's going to be a bunch of stops here. There's going to be a bunch of stops, let's call it here. You can see that this pretty much came down, tapped into that area. So these are like the areas that'll feed the move should it come up, should it move down now. Now you've got buyers here, buyers here, buyers here, so there's a good chance that you get some sort of reaction from the buyers that's here, giving it another shot. But should you get a close underneath here, I think all those stops, everybody that's super bullish with this big breakout, because it keeps on, all it does is go up. They're the ones that are going to be bailing out, which will give that big candle move down like this. And that's when I think you look around 4,500, you look around 4,530 for those kind of reactions to see if the buyers want to jump back in and then rip it back up here again. We'll see how we go, but I think that's certainly giving a little bit of sort of top vibes in that at the moment. Silver just keeps on rocking on. Look, break this trend. I think that's a pretty straightforward trade for it there. Like, it is absolutely just, I mean, look, silver has just been ripping regardless of everything. But, 73 to, 93, so $10. And this is probably only Friday. Effectively, well, where did Monday start? Monday open, Friday, Saturday. Boom. So it opened around here, but it's $10 in a straight line. There's your little channel. And then break the channel, bang, away you go. Drag a little line across here. That's your zone, I would say. That'd be nice to break. But I mean, while it's doing this, it's just, as you can see, it's just buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. So while it's in the channel, buy the dip's the play. Break the channel onto caution. Break this little horizontal here, 89. And then I think you could start to see, whoops, not that. You could start to see potentially churning down through the levels like this. You're going to get buyers. This thing is incredibly bullish, so it's not going to be an easy fight to the downside. You're going to get buyers trying to step in all the way, all these levels. But they're your kind of trades through here. So with these sort of things, coming through these levels, take partials, take partials, take partials if you are on the short side. You know what I mean? Like, what you want to see is like, okay, this is the trend here shows obviously sort of the direction. Okay, yes, we know that. Okay, it's buying up, kind of moving up like this. Horizontals are going to be confirmations that maybe these people just want to cool off a little bit. So, under 89, you could look for 89 down to 86. I mean, these are still big zones. That's $3. Like a year ago, it was trading at 30 odd bucks. So, you know what I mean? But this will do intra-session. I mean, look at this. Just, it's been open it's 10:18 now. Oops. And what have we done? Downside move, 2.5%. It's because I'm so close to 100, you can pretty much call the percentage almost like what it is. 2.5%, 230 points. That's just straight meltdown status. Gold has just dropped 23 bucks. As I said, I mean, I know it's crazy because it's right at the top over here, but the confirmation will be under 89. The next confirmation will be under 86. Next confirmation under 83.70. These are the kind of levels that you're going to need to pop. You get back down underneath here, that's pretty close. It's not quite on over here. Look, you're definitely going to get buyers back down here at this 81, but I do think we're in line for potential some sort of sharp corrections. And these kind of sell-offs here, The market's getting cautious. You got to take on board that. Like, yes, there's an equal amount of people just like this one here was a big sell down, boom, and back up higher. But eventually, this is going to pop. It's funny. I put a post on yesterday. Which chart was it? It was like this long-term chart, not this one. Uh, Something like this on a weekly or monthly time frame. No, not this one. This, yeah, this chart here. So this is on a monthly time frame. I mean, look at this move. You know what I mean? You got to understand that any sort of look with these kind of moves. We saw the same thing with gold last year. Technicals go out the window. Like there's no applicable technicals when things are just straight buy. It's just, it looks like it's showing some sort of rising wedge, looks like it's going to break down, and it goes, another percent higher or 2% higher, whatever. But this is on a monthly. These are like obviously historical kind of stuff. We've got the 80s, which was which I've heard is the Hunt brothers. We've got obviously a little bit before my time. We've got 2011, also before my time in terms of trading, but we can still look at the charts and we can still sort of like learn a little bit of something because look at how incredible this is moving up. Like you think this is a big move. Well, look at this in terms of percentage from down here. All right. These guys are up 800%. In this one move, like, after the pullback, they were up 460. What are we up now? We're up 414. So, 414, 456, 500, 500, dyslexia, 845%. There's some big gains. And I'm sure at the time everybody thought, wow, this thing could never fucking break. But the point is, charts do not work like this. If anybody's even looked at any chart at any point, you know that this is not sustainable. I mean, what do you think? It's just going to go up to over here. Look, in all fairness, it could because it got up to 60. I thought, oh, I can't go any higher, and it's banged another 50% on top of that. But the point is, when it does pull back, it will pull back. It'll have a sharp decline, as we can see, sort of like the initial drops. Again, this is a monthly chart, so it's maybe over a couple of 6-month period or whatever. But initial drops, 46%, 77%. Yeah, this one was a little bit different because I think it was a bit of dodgy sort of stuff going on. They were trying to corner the market. But 45% only takes you to a retest of the breakout point. And even say that sort of like, buys jump in a little bit early. 37%. Well, actually, it's more now because this has gone up even since last night. 40%. You know what I mean? Like, so it will come back. It may take sort of halfway through the year, but we will get back down to these levels. I guarantee it. And I'll sort of repost this sort of chart and that at the time because charts, anybody that knows anything about technicals knows that this is not how charts work. This is obviously what people call price discovery. That's fine. It go up, go up, go up. But there is always a tipping point. And look, it could be 100, it could be 120. That's fine. I admit that. But the point is, once the sellers come, they're going to come. And it's going to overshoot what is the fair value for these kind of things. Anyway, back onto the charts of what we can use today. Back on to Aussie. So Aussie's actually looking a little bit better for the downside now. It's really trying to hold this zone a lot here. Let me get back into this thing. Look. So look, we had this sort of bounce back up here. As I said, I wanted to see if the buyers would take it back up from here. They didn't. So this move, obsolete. Bang. We can get rid of this. We can say, okay, where are the buyers? Well, the buyers are down over here at the moment. They're trying to hold this line as best they can. That's fine. They're on cue. Again, a little close down underneath this area. Close down into the 60s. Take out the wick. We're going down to 66.20. That's the trade still here. We've got this larger kind of channel that it was working with. We got a break. We got a retest of the underside. We've got a negative divergence on the daily. There we go. Boom, like this. It just needs that confirmation. So underneath 66.60. And then I think we're looking back down towards 66.08. And then sort of on there and on there. But I imagine we get a bit of a reaction around this point over here as well. But again, you break that, well, it's pretty clean air. As you can see, it was one-way traffic moving up. There's a good chance we get one-way traffic coming back down. So really, Aussie is going to try and defend this line, this 66 line. But should it break, and I'm talking like in maybe a week or so, of price action. Should it break? 66.20 is where we're looking to afterwards there. But at the moment, look, the RSI has had a bit of time to cool off. So you want to see this drive now. Like if this holds sideways, if this holds this 66.70, 66.60 level, and this RSI has time to turn around and come back up, then we could be going more into a range. But should we break the lows here, 66.20 is where we're looking at. All right, and finally, just the dollar. Dollar is chugging along. It is really having a hard time in that, but I mean, this has been the story the whole way last 6 months. Because remember, the first 6 months of the year was this. We got bailed down. Ever since May last year, we've just been really in this range. And I think this is what's going to really sort of be kind of like scaring the metals a little bit because, look, eventually the correlation of metals up and metals and the US dollar being inverse, eventually that'll kick back in. It's just that this is not a viable option or place for people to sort of store their capital at the moment, as we've seen. The market is absolutely sort of dumping down on this. So I just want to have a quick look at what the US 10, what's the US 10? I can have a look on here actually. What are the yields doing? Yields 420, it is just absolutely like a rock hard to get through there. So yields are just sort of basically just sort of like stalling around this level here, 411 to 420. Above 420, we'll see that sort of take off. Back onto the dollar. So yeah, basically since May last year, it really has just been this range. What changes with this is if you get above 100, call it 100.5, yeah, give it a good sort of push out to the top. I think once you see that, you'll start to see, okay, the market's mentality, at least in the medium term, is shifting to at least a sort of short-term risk-reward play that the dollar's down at the lows, it's made a bounce, it's made a base, and here's the bounce. Confirmation of that is above 105. Obviously, at the moment, it's stalling, so we want to see this keep progressing on to the top side here. But yeah, should we get a test of 102, a little bit of a pushback, as it has been all the way up here. Let's go into a lower time frame. You can see this kind of stuff. You know, we hit resistance, we broke through, shocking sell back down. Now I've hit resistance, pull back, hit resistance, pull back. So realistically, like if you look at my weekend wrap, so you know the one that was done over last weekend. Sorry, a little bit still under the weather. This was kind of what I was expecting through the week. This is what I said. Sort of through, as you can see with this little red line, this is what I was expecting. A little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a temp forward and that. This overshoot down here came deeper and faster than I expected. This was off the back of Trump and Powell. Obviously, the market took it to this level here, respected the chart, pushed back up. It's still respecting the chart at this level here. So this is where we need to see a close above. This is what's going to signify a move to 100 tests. So let's put this as an up candle. Oh, no, this one. This is what I'm looking for. A candle to sort of say, hey, look, you know what? We're done with the sellers at this point here. We're moving on. Once we start to get this little levels, yeah, along here, 99.50, we got one at 99.75, that's fine. They're not major levels. This is the major level that we're looking at then. We're looking at 100 after that, but that is going to come with when we're done with this level here. As you can see, whoops, it's all over the place, this one. This kind of level here. We hit in resistance, strong candle, closed out the top. Here. Obviously came and all the way back down over here. That's all right because breakouts don't always just go in one direction. We know that. But that came back down on the back of ISM missed numbers. So that was a sort of news-driven kind of move. We had ADP over this point here. So look, that's what you want to see though. You want to see a big candle close through that zone, depletion of the sellers at this level, and then you move on to the next level. This is what we want to see up over here. We want to see big candle close out the top, maybe a little fluff around, and then we want to see that as a confirmation that we've got a next wave of USD buying, and we're probably looking up towards 100 there over, you know, whatever, the next session or 2 sessions or however long it takes to get there. It's funny, somebody asked me about sort of how long I expect some of these, like time. I've come to, you got to know your strengths and your weaknesses. Time is not is not my strength. Price levels and price flow action, that kind of stuff. That's where I tend to sort of have a bit more of an edge. But in terms of sort of saying, oh, this thing will come in one session, two sessions, of 4 hours. No, it's generally something that I've come to realize that sort of like I'll think, oh, it should happen by Monday or Tuesday, and it happens in 3 weeks' time. So, this is something I've got to sort of add into my sort of style with it all. But regardless of that, this is what we're looking for. A close out through the top of sort of 99.3, and then that should be opening us up to a push up over to 100. Now, again, you got to consider downsides of this thing. It is putting in a little double top here at the moment, but it did fight back towards the end. So to me, this is really just ranging this area here. Downside above 98. 68. Even if it got down here, I'd be a little bit cautious. But technically, if you take out that 98.70, then that's where you're going to see a move down. But I would be more inclined to say that we see this flow move up over here as well, continue up. So let's pull a little move up like this. So that's what I want to say, though. A big close out the top side there. All right, quick look over news. So we had PPI last night. PPI, where are we at? PPI here. So a bit of a look, a little bit of a mixed number. We had retail sales came in a lot stronger, was revised down. Again, look, I don't know if this is seasonally adjusted and that, but obviously, sort of these are the month after. Does that take into account sort of Christmas spendings and all this kind of stuff? But in saying that, they were expecting a push up and they got even more. That's positive. PPI here. This is all beat, beat, beat. The core actually came in a little bit lower. So a little bit of a mixed bag with there, but all in all, kind of positive. We had existing home sales as well come in a little bit above there as well. So I think it's painting the picture that the economy's not too bad at the moment. We are seeing a little bit of sorry, the retail sales push up here. Where we at? PPI. Oh, that's retail. So sorry, I misspoke before in that. PPI month on month. So the inflation's not too bad with this here. It's ticked up a little bit. This has actually come down. So that's giving you a mixed bag. But the retail sales obviously a little bit stronger. Excuse me. So we'll see how this all sort of plays out. But it seems like the economy's not too bad. Like, while sort of people are saying, hey, we need massive cuts, generally you kind of need massive cuts to sort of help stimulate the economy. But, we'll see how we go. Coming up tonight, we've got unemployment claims. Just typically honest. Oh, yeah, it is Thursday, so Thursday night, 12:30. Unemployment claims, as I said, down in those 200s, low 200s is generally seen as pretty positive in that. And then we've got a little bit of sort of manufacturing data. These things tend to fly around a lot. I don't put a lot of stock in these ones. And then pretty quiet through to the end of the week. So, interesting sort of way to finish it off. All right, we'll see how the session plays out. That's it from me.